what y'all said. I think what you said, brother, was just so deep because I do think at the very core, I think there's a huge attack on men in our culture. Mm-hmm. It's an attack for us not to accept responsibilities as leaders, not to embrace that role, right? Even when I'll take it back to Genesis as well. Notice how when God created Adam in the garden, right? He created Adam in the garden, and he gave Adam the right to name all of the animals. He told him to tend over the garden, which means to work, right? And he told him not to eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, right? And he gave Adam all of those commands before he created Eve. And when he created Eve, God did not repeat these commands to Eve. Why? Because he entrusted Adam to uphold the moral integrity of his family. He looked to Adam to be the leader, not the domineering leader, not the leader that says you have to listen to me every time I say something. No, he created Adam to lead her well, right? And I think a lot of this toxic masculinity stuff that we see in our culture is giving men an excuse to not lead. Giving men an excuse to point the finger at women, giving men an excuse to like be like Adam, right? And I think that's what the enemy wants. And now if the enemy can disrupt our leadership, which he's tried to do from the beginning, he's still trying to do now, right? He can disrupt the family. He can affect how we look at our sisters, and he can affect how our sisters look at us. He wants he wants division. And so this is the reason why you have so many. I saw one woman on the internet talking about destroying the nuclear. Was it this show?
That was this show.
Oh, that was this show?
Yes.
That's crazy.
Okay, that's classic. Prince Ella versus Tim Ross.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And I think a lot of men are escaping the way we supposed to lead with love, with Christ-like love,
That's good.
gentleness, meekness, right? And so we cannot. And you know what frustrates me? I see so many men in our culture calling women out instead of modeling what they want to see.
Facts.
Damn. Explain, bro.
It's like if you don't model humility, you cannot call a woman out on pride.
Damn.
If you don't model meekness, you can't call her out on a lack of meekness, right? If you don't model a selflessness, why are you calling women out on being selfish, right? If you don't model being humble with your finances, why are you calling women gold diggers? It's like we want to call out, but we don't want to model, and that's the opposite of how Christ led. Christ did not come and lead us that way. He didn't come and say, stop doing this and stop doing that. No, God condescended and became a man to lead his creation and how he wanted them to live. And if men are going to be like Christ, we have to understand that we cannot be like Christ if we don't lead in the same way.
Right.
We want to lead by attacking women and not modeling what we want to see. And that's just not Christ-like.
And that's just really the opposite of how women even learn in the first place.
How we all learn.
How anybody learns.
Yeah.
And it's truly, I just really love the way you really broke that down, man. Because it is an attack on our leadership. And us being able to point the finger is the easiest way to measure that we just have an absolute weak culture. That's the easiest way to be a man. Is to just point the finger at somebody else and completely relinquish all responsibility, relieve yourself of all accountability from the situation, and just say, look, you are the problem.
Yeah.
Right.
I got one question, JR. Why don't we ever hear it from them? Why don't they ever? Because let's say for the sake of argument, they right. Because there are some men in this space that say some, you know what I mean, that call out degeneracy and all of that, but also practice degeneracy. Fair enough. Y'all aren't, so why aren't y'all calling it out? Because here's the reality of it. This is a public space. This is a platform. For the most part, all you can do is talk up here. So we can get up here and we can go for decades talking about what men needed to do. Nobody batted an eye. But then the conversation shifted. And now men are talking about what women should be doing. And if we're not saying it and they're not saying it, then who's going to say it? Because they're not saying it. That's why their podcast is safe. That's why all they get is a bunch of yeses and mms and all of that, because your podcast safe. You don't say anything. You don't ruffle no feathers. You don't rattle the cage. You don't say anything. You just sit back and chill and be like, yeah, you got to lead by example. And if you want to call somebody out for being a gold digger, how you going to be a gold digger yourself? Well, you're not, so why aren't you calling it out? Because I thought the whole point was that we call out the problematic people in our society. Nobody shuts up when it comes to problematic people. You don't just sit there and be like, well, they problematic over there, so we just gonna leave them to it. No, you call it out. Hey, you're being problematic. Stop doing what you're doing. You don't just, like, good people don't just go on and be good and hope that the rest of the people are gonna be good because they watching them. That's not how that works.
That's not how leading works either.
You don't just be good and then hope that everybody else is just going to be good with you. If that was the case, then what the hell do we have jails for? What the hell do we have what is it called? Starts with an R. Rehab. You bring people in and you tell them 12-step programs and shit. The first thing you do is tell them what the fuck they doing wrong in life.
So wait, leadership doesn't come with harshness?
No, I'm not. No, I agree
that's
with
what
you.
Law said.
Say what?
Leadership doesn't come with being harsh at times.
No, I absolutely agree it does. I'm saying it. You can't not say nothing. You know what I mean? That's not leading. If you're not speaking up on it, you're not leading to me. You can lead by example. That's cool, but at some point you're gonna have to let them know exactly what it is. And I'm a big proponent of speaking up on it. You dig what I'm saying? I don't play that. I don't just only lead by example. If I see an issue, I address the issue. You know, plain and simple. That's when it comes down. When I say I know how we leading over here. You know what I mean? I know how we lead those coming up behind us. We tell them exactly what they need to hear. And some of them, whether they're gonna listen to it or not, I bet you they heard it. And then I bet you can see that I'm living that way too. I'm telling you what I know from experience. Yeah. I'm not telling you what I think should happen and vice versa. I'm showing you and I'm telling you. I'm teaching you. You dig? So, yeah, it definitely comes with harshness.
Yeah, because the worst thing that you could be when it comes to, you speaking to someone and telling them something is a hypocrite. You know what I'm saying? So you have to lead by example, but then also tell them like it is, because they have to believe it by watching and seeing you. You know what I mean? Like a bus driver is not going to tell me how to fly a plane. You know what I mean? Be like, well, I seen it on TikTok and nigga, you never flew a plane. Get the fuck out of my face. You know what I'm saying?
So Sherm, would you agree? If you've been down that alley and you saw that the outcomes was just pure negatives, and you speak on, you said your anecdotal evidence, your resume of things, should you be able to be open if I was telling it to you, because you said you come up in a certain cloth, correct?
Hold on, what are you talking about? Going down what alley? You kind of lost me with that. You said if you going down the alley and what?
Did you hear me?
Yeah, I heard you. But what are you talking about?
Which part you got lost in?
No, when you said like I'm going down the alley, if I go down that alley, like what are you referencing?
Okay, where did you get lost at? Because
when you
I'm trying to figure
I'm
out.
going down that alley, what are you referencing when you say I'm going down an alley?
Well, just take it from the top, Kenny. Take it from the top.
Yeah.
All right, so here we go again. So with leadership, right?
Yeah.
From your words, the person that usually speaks at least has to have a resume or something,
right?
So that you could be like, okay, they're not talking shit, right? And then from that, if they give you the pros and cons of it and they show you why they stopped this because they saw the outcomes and they progressively moved this way, would that be a message that would be one that you could consume or not?
Yeah. Well, are
You wouldn't.
you talking about like they're talking about from their experience,
Yeah,
or
because
just something that they heard,
no. I gave
or
you
like what?
resume.
Uh-huh.
Resume's
Right.
experience.
Yeah. Right. If they're
If I'm
talking from their
selling,
experience, yeah.
if I'm selling you air pie and win cakes, that's me just talking out my butt, right? No. But then if I show you that this is the way I went and this is my progression, and then I hold you to that standard with harshness, showing leadership.
Mm-hmm.
I challenge you to be better rather than just harp on something and you get called on it. Would that be an acceptable thing that you could digest and build upon?
I mean, it could be something I could understand. I'm not sure if I could build upon it though.
But there's a possibility.
Yeah, I mean, it could be possible. Yeah.
Okay, that's all I wanted. I digress.
Look, listen, Jr. Let me with the video that you played. He mentioned something. He was wrong and right in my personal opinion. He was wrong about Eve. I just talked about this ironically in my broadcast channel on Instagram and last week. While God himself did not repeat the tasks to Eve that he had given Adam, Adam was not called to lead Eve originally. Their original nature was as one. They originally were a union. It wasn't until Eve wanted to be exalted, Eve and Eve alone wanted to be exalted as a god. She wanted to be seen and treated as a god, as explained to her by the serpent. Her punishment was to follow Adam, since that's what she wanted to be. Oh, you want to be big and mighty? That's what she wanted. I mean, that's what she ended up having to do. So oftentimes people say, you know, Adam was put in place to lead. No, he wasn't. That wasn't the case. Just that I get he put her to sleep, took the rib out, made her, and all that kind of stuff. But she was not. They were a union that originally, and a lot of people use that scripture incorrectly, saying that Adam was supposed to lead her. That wasn't the case. Her punishment was that she had to now follow him, since she wanted to be his boss by biting that apple. He was just stupid enough to follow her in doing so. But in the military, we had this thing, man. In order to be, they kind of disbanded this program. But back in my day, in order to be a sergeant and to lead a team or a troop or a platoon, you had to go through what was called PLDC. And PLDC standard for Primary Leadership and Development Course. Every E4 had to go to PLDC in order to be an E5. You know, the leadership of a sergeant is to rally his troops, is to influence them to fight and to guide them on the right path to eventually capture the flag. That is what a leader is in the military. And when you asked me originally, before you played the video, do I believe that men are leaders today? Are men failing at leadership? And I said, yes, it's because men today, in my personal opinion, are not as stoic as they once were. They're not as stoic as they could be. Men are not about teamwork as they should be. Men are hyper individualistic. I explained that to you guys. Hyper individualism is promoted today. And so today, men are more selfish than ever. But here's the rub, ladies and gentlemen, and young kings that's watching the show. I believe all men can win and not fail at leadership. All 100%. This is where I mean all when I say all, not the some, not all. No, I think all men can lead. Now, they have to have the right woman behind them. A lot of guys shoot for the wrong type of woman. Somebody may be out of his league, but I think that all men can. But like the brother in the video said, and like some of you brothers on the panel said, we got too much shit going against us. There's too many things that's going against men. We got women pulling up on men in restaurants, popping off and shit. You got your girl arguing with you all the time and knowing that you can't do nothing. You can't, you know, it's nothing you can do. What is our only recourse? To walk away. It's too many things going against men these days that are, I would say, prohibiting men to become the leaders that they could be. And so now you got men, especially who don't have any kind of masculinity in his life, growing up to be super emotional. in his responses, and it's hurting. You know what happens when an emotional man gets emotional? Somebody dies. There's the consent of the governed is what I talk about all the time. If you want me to be a coach, I need good players. It just is what it is. I know that the coach is typically fired first when the team is losing, but sometimes the players suck. The coach is fine. The players aren't calling the plays that they hear in the radio. They out there on the field doing their own thing, and there's no recourse. All it is, well, you know what? You're supposed to be able to get them in line. Dog, how can I get them in line if they don't want to do what the fuck I'm telling them to do so we can win this game? Well, I don't believe in your coach. I don't believe in your plays. I didn't think that we needed to do. I had to call an audible while I was out there. Well, I don't want to run that play. I don't like the play that you called. All we got now is to get rid of that. But then what's happening is a lot of guys is being said, oh, man, you suck as a coach. You suck as a leader. You ain't no good leader. And it's like, no, I could be a good leader. I just need some good players. But now you got so many players that feel that they don't need to be coached. You got a lot of players out there that's out there running the game of life that don't think they need to be led whatsoever. But they claim they want one. They say it on the internet. They say it all throughout, everywhere you look, they saying that they want a leader, but who evaluates the good leader? They do. And that's the consent of the governed problem that we're having, because if you feel that what I'm telling you to do ain't what you're supposed to do, you're going to say that I can't lead well, even though the advice I'm giving you will help you and we will win the game. But because you don't like the play I called, you ain't going to run it. And that's the problem. A lot of our tools to be good leaders are being stripped from men. And then you got men that's growing up emotional as a motherfucker. And so they're not even learning how to find good players. That's one of my issues. My issue is I typically pick the wrong damn players. Man, I got a bad woman picker. I'm just bad at it, man. I just am. And I have a long history of picking bad women. Because I just don't know what to look for, or historically haven't known what to look for. And that's a problem that I have, because when I first see a red flag, I typically think that I can turn it green. And then at the end, I was like, damn, man, why don't I just avoid that red flag when I had the chance? Because the ass was nice, the sex was good, because she talked to me. She had so many other green flags that I kind of looked past this one. There's a lot of people that's doing that. And so here I am out here trying to coach players that don't want to play the game the way that I want to play it. And that's happening for a lot of guys. And so our tools are being stripped from us, or we're ignoring, like in my case, the red flags when we first see them. And so now we're putting people on our team that should never be there to begin with.
And you know what's tripped out, Shannon?
Shannon, you just solved your own equation right there. I don't know if you heard it at the end, but you just identified your whole problem and solved it right there. So hopefully you listen to your own damn advice.
That's my problem. I know I'm like that singing coach that can teach you how to sing, but don't give me a mic because I can't sing myself.
Well, I'll just repeat. I'm not going to dwell on it too much, but I'll just repeat what you just said. You ignored the red flags because this and that. That's your difference maker.
Men are failing at leadership.
Intellectual discussions, not all goes without saying, but. So when you see me nod my head, yes, I ain't talking about everybody. Right. But yeah.
Low.
It's hard to say, because I'm gonna keep it real. I have to remove myself from that. You know what I mean? And so my thing is, do I think personally I'm doing my part? Yeah, but I can only touch so many men. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to be the example for not only friends that I know, but also family members. Like, I'm the at this level, I'm basically the patriarch in my family. You know what I mean? It's up to me, and I have a very large family. So I make sure I do my part, but I do see individuals out here that don't do theirs, right? But then where do I stand? That comes where I have to kind of step up. You know what I mean? So I see it. I'm around good leaders. I keep myself around a certain type of individuals. So it's hard for me to say no, but I can see the issues coming up behind us that's creating it where Yeah, men are failing as a whole, I would say.
Okay. All right, Law with the safe answer. Go ahead, Sharm.
I mean, when it comes to leadership, it just depends on like what are we defining leadership as, you know, because the way Law said it, you know, the way I understand his, you know, that's my cousin. So I understand his perspective on, you know, what he's thinking about. It's like, okay, in order for a man to be a leader, he should have a wife, he should have children, he should have men that look up to him. You know what I'm saying? He should be a provider, all of these different things. And that's like, you know, what I think about when it comes to leadership. But then it's kind of hard for me to say, you know, for other people's perspective, that a leader has to have a family, you know what I'm saying? Or a leader has to have young men looking up to them, you know what I'm saying? Because some people say they're a leader just because they handle their business. But I can't personally define a leader like that. You know what I'm saying? Because to me, it's like, okay, what legacy are you leaving behind? You know what I mean? I can't say a man was a leader because he had a good job and he had rims on 24s and all that, and he was stunting. You know what I mean? It's like, nah,
So what is a
bro.
leader,
Who
Sherm?
who
So
have you
if you can't
impact?
define it as that, then what do you
Whose
define a
life?
leader as?
No. I'm speaking on my definition. Who are you impacting? Who's looking up to you? Who are you raising? You know what I'm saying? Who is going to look at you and be like, okay, this person is a resource? Because that's what I look at when it comes to a leader. You know what I'm saying? Who's going to be the one that's going to take the responsibility and the accountability to get us as a whole from point A to point B? You know what I'm saying? Who's going to take the hits on the chin when it comes to like, you know, oh man, we fucked up. Damn, all right, you know what, man, fuck that. We're gonna get back at it. You know, this is how we gonna do it. This is how we gonna plan it out. You know what I'm saying? So we all can eat, so we all can win. That's what I define a leader as. You know what I'm saying? So if you know, some people are doing it, some people are not, but that's my definition of leadership.
All right, real quick. Tress, men are failing in leadership. Agree with it.
Okay, so I'm gonna just try to bring the definition up real quick. So it's the of leadership, right? So it's the ability to influence, guide, and inspire people to achieve shared goals, right? So I'm gonna go by that, and I'd say that yes, many of us are failing, right? I can't include anybody on this panel because a lot of us are doing what we're supposed to do as men, and we're doing it with our families, and we take it beyond our families. But overall, there's a lot of people who lack leadership. Some of it just because they never, for one, to be a good leader, you have to first be a good follower. If you don't have a good person to follow initially, then how the hell do you learn to be a leader? And that's one of our major issues. I don't want to be too long with it because I know you're just going in with this, but yeah, that's what I feel about it.
All right, men failing at leadership.
Yeah.
I need a little more on that. Are you talking about as a community, as far as family is concerned?
Everything.
Let's just go by the definition.
No, I don't think so. Because I think when everybody has autonomy and the ability to do what the fuck they want to do, how do you lead somebody that can do what they want to do? You don't. When you say we all need to go right, but they have the option to go left and they can go left. Did you gonna keep trying to talk them into going right with you? Gonna try to convince them you're gonna let them go left and let them bump their head and flip over and deal with whatever the consequences are. Also, I don't think men are expected to be leaders today. I think it's a nice conversation. They're not expected to be. They're just expected to take on the consequences of when shit hits the fan. So they're expected to be responsible for when shit hits the fan, but they're not expected to be leaders. They just got to eat the failure.
And the failures nowadays, they're handcuffed. They can't do anything to keep the standards of a household anymore. You have examples of the sexy reds the Glorrillas. You have the alpha women that tell you that in your face. They said what I said, females may not have what they used to in the past. There's a chance to grasp it back, but as long as there's division, we're going the opposite way rather than progressive. So no.
All right. And White, you there?
Yes.
All right.
The answer, yes.
Okay.